All right, everybody. Let's mess around and just paint a little bit. Have a good time. As always, feel free to jump in the chat and join me. And I'm just going to work on this giant a little bit, maybe some deepkin eels. Basically, just doing this for subscribers to hang out and chat. Not so much of a tutorial, but if you want somebody to paint along with, here we go. I'm going to just do Agrax Earthshade and do the bottom ropes here on this guy real quick. And we'll go from there while that dries. Put it in a little Necro paint pot holder. Beautiful. So I'm going to get my original size 6 prototype of the ghost brushes, nice and used, but still holding a nice point. And the size 6 is a good brush to use for washes because it still holds a decent amount of paint. And I'm going to purposely be a little bit heavy on this and just try to not only coat the ropes with the wash, but also pool it up on the edges of the ropes to kind of create somewhat of a cast shadow. Also hide any blemishes or a little overpainting that I might have done. And yeah, this is one of those nights where it's a little bit of a, force yourself to paint a little bit before you put on a movie or whatever. Saturday's a gaming day for me, so I actually got to play a game of Blood Bowl today, and that was pretty fun. So now we're just going to relax for about an hour, get some painting done, and hopefully some people join the chat, and we have a good time. So I'll probably demonstrate some of those tiny paintbrushes that are currently available on Kickstarter. You can also get the Ghost Brush, the Ghost Dry Brushes. They're also available on eBay if you need a set right away. Just a really nice synthetic paintbrush set. And I think you'll really enjoy them if you haven't tried them. And it's basically all I use now. Of course, it is my product, so I'm going to use it because I support what I do, but they do work great. They work excellent. So there we go. All right. Yep. Make sure if you're watching now or in the future, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Hopefully soon the Eldar or AdMech will get a codex, and I'll start doing some 40K videos. Because I don't really have any knowledge currently of 9th edition 40K because none of my armies have a codex yet, so I haven't been paying as much attention as I normally do. Recently, we've been playing Blood Bowl, and before that, we were playing a board game called Deep Madness and also Warcry. So that's kind of what I've been gaming on recently. Let me know what you guys are playing lately, or painting for sure. Let me know what you're working on. And yeah, this is, hey, what's going on? Mark Gonzalez, 1984. Love the ghost brush from the last campaign. Looking forward. Oh, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, they're a big hit. This new campaign looks like it's a big hit. It's definitely a much faster start than I've had in the last 2 campaigns. So I think that's a kind of a sign of, people like the product, like the brushes, and they're coming back to support. And hopefully it just keeps growing from there and we can keep doing new stuff, which would be super cool. What are you painting on tonight? This is one of those nights where it's like, you know what, just put some washes on, put some highlights on, get some stuff off the paint table that's been sitting there for too long that's too close to being finished, but not finished. So like last night, tonight, probably tomorrow night. Actually, I would probably say by tomorrow night, this giant, I think I'm going to call him done. Depends on if I get his like fingernails and toenails highlighted up tonight or tomorrow. But after I do that, oh, I got to paint this deer too. He's got this deer hanging from him. All right. I still got to paint that. Forgot about that. So he's close to being done, but he's just still these little details you got to keep chipping away at. And I got these 3 deepkin eels, and I'll bring them out here in just a second while this dries. I actually did the ropes on the upper part of him last night. Looks like maybe I missed these ones. But yeah, I just ended up doing those. I don't think I did it actually after the stream, just tried to knock them out real quick, just so they'd be ready for tonight. All right, so we'll let him dry. Close the Agrax Earthshade. Oh, Marvel United, is that the Cool Mini or Not game that came with like a whole bunch of the chibi Marvel characters? I was so close to backing that and doing the all-in just because you got so many heroes and villains and stuff. But I have quite a bit of unpainted miniatures already, and I ended up backing out on it. I do have some of the Marvel Crisis Protocol guys, though. All right, let's bring the eels out. Nice. Have you actually had a chance to play the Marvel what's it called? Marvel United yet? Like, is it a fun game? I actually saw it at Walmart too. Oh yeah, I really like the contrast paints. I think they're really cool. They're really a nice way to block in color and just, you know, get some interesting effects going on with your coat, your single coats. I think what really sells the contrast paints really nice is, you know, you contrast paint kind of all your base coats, paint all your metallics, maybe do some washes and dry brushes. And then once you go back in and maybe like clean up some highlights and matte coat them. Like if you matte coat with this ultra matte AK varnish, that can really make the contrast look nice. It gives it that nice finish. I gotta paint these guys saddles, and I think it doesn't honestly matter what color I paint them. So I think we'll just go like dark brown, I guess. Dark brown? Mornfang brown? I think that's what I was doing on the rest of the leather. That's fine. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's go open this wet palette. I don't think I necessarily need it for this task, but you know, it'd be nice if my camera was a little more that way. I guess, maybe. Oh, Laser and Prophet are in the building. What's going on, guys? Excited for the detail. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Hello, Mr. Prophet of Hasut. Oh, I actually had a chance with some guys at the game store back in the olden days, pre-COVID, to play the Legacy Pandemic game, where you get to like mark all the cities that have fallen and whatnot. That was pretty fun, but it gets, you know, the map gets harder and harder each mission because of cities that have fallen to the plague. All right, we're just gonna base coat Here's my eels that they're just magnetized on here, so I'll just hold them without the magnet. But now the little elf is going to be sitting on these saddles, so I think as long as I just kind of get a clean base coat, or clean enough, I guess. Of course, naturally, I'm using my paint's too thin because I'm using some stupid airbrush paint. So I'll probably have to do 2 coats, which, oh well. But most of this saddle will be hidden once the elf's sitting on it. So it's not, not a big deal if it's not perfect. Actually, that's probably fine. I already actually did the straps. They're kind of messy. What I'll actually probably need to do is actually Agrex Earthshade all the straps and the saddles. So maybe after those dry, we'll get to that. Oh yeah, this is the paint holder there. When I bring the wash back out, I'll use it. Right now with the wet palette, I use it for like the washes and contrast paints. That's what it was designed to fit. So because that's usually the ones that I'm going to be painting out of the pot with. After I get these saddles base coated, I'll show you. The paint holder does hold the P3s, but not nearly as secure as the GW. So if you use like P3 mostly, yeah, you could put it in there, and it might, save you from a light bump, but it's not gonna totally prevent tipping it over like it does with the GW. And of course, if you really wail on it, even that little holder can be sent flying. So, but like a little casual bump or whatever, you should be fine. Man, it's funny. So I have the Logitech C922, I think. And sometimes I've streamed with Logic Capture. Sometimes I've tried setting up the camera on OBS. And I think it was maybe first last night, or maybe I did it once before. But I literally just hit go live on YouTube, and somehow it looks better, I think, now than it does when I try to actually make it look as good as I can. Like, I didn't do any settings or nothing. There's just a go live button on YouTube. So I think that's the way I'm going to do it for now. Because I mean, if you've seen my videos, I don't know how to edit or nothing. I don't know how to do anything of camera related. So this is simple for me. If I could just hit go live and it looked decent, I'm okay with that. And then I have the Blue Yeti microphone. Looks like I'm going to need maybe a second coat on this saddle. It's not 100% dry, but we're just going to rush it. Get this paint on. That Mournfang brown I'm using is a GW Air, so it's more transparent than normal. But we're going to try to approach it with not the most ideal strategy, but the one thick coat. So that's cool. Well, I'm 35, and I think I started buying models. Well, when I was really little, I happened to get a couple Harlequin models, and then I at a hobby store. And then when I was maybe 12 or 13, my mom just, oh, that says game store. And we went into a random game store. It turned out to be tabletop games. And they had a Saturday Youngbloods program where they would do some, little mini games. This was second edition Warhammer 40K. So I started going in on Saturdays, and I had some Eldar models that were like tiger stripe painted and just horrible looking, of course. And it was pretty exciting though. I remember being little, and when we went into the store and I saw the people playing Warhammer and Warhammer Fantasy at the time, one of the first things maybe one of the only memories of the few I have of that time was I just remembered knowing, like, hey, I have some of these in my toy box or whatever. They were Harlequins, little metal Harlequins, and I think I had 2 striking scorpions. But once I saw them out on the table and I saw a white dwarf and them painted and a codex with all the painted models, it just really struck me as like, wow, I own some of these guys, so this must be something I should do. And it was different back then, like a lot younger. When I started, there was other young people playing. And now when you go to the game store, everybody's like 30. So it seems different, but. Oh, nice. Yeah, I started with Eldar and High Elves. So Eldar was my 40K army, and High Elves was my fantasy army. And by army, I mean, just a ragtag mix of models and people nice enough to let you. Even back then, too, like people would play you as a kid with your little miscellaneous, my Eldar army was like Karandras, Eldrad, an Avatar, 12 Guardians, 4 Swooping Hawks, 4 Strike, like whatever. And people were nice enough to play and let you play and stuff. So that was always cool. Now I feel like I think people aren't as maybe open to like practicing games for kids, or I don't know. You just really don't see kids playing at the game stores. I mean, obviously before COVID. So here's like the bottle Agax Earthshade, and here's the Necro paint pot holder, and you can really. Oh, I got it there. See, it's pretty secure. I did manage to flip it once, but it'd be pretty unlikely if you just gently tapped it or accidentally brushed your hand over it to knock it over. So yeah, so I painted. Honestly, I didn't paint all that much. Let me bust out. I'm going to bring out one of the little ghost tinies real quick. I didn't paint all that much. I mean, Vallejo Emerald. When I was younger, I painted on it just, for fun, like any kid is going to paint a little bit here and there, but I was never trying to paint like a full army or nothing. And in high school and everything, all I ever wanted to do was be like an oil painter and go to college for painting. And I got kind of dissatisfied with college painting and stuff. But I always wanted to be an oil painter. Then I moved to Vegas. I started working in restaurants and bars. Then I moved to Vegas and worked in nightclubs. And, I didn't do really any art, even though I palled around with my art supplies. I even took them to Vegas and, maybe used them once or twice. All my oil paints and canvases and brushes and stuff. And then when I got back, I started getting back into Warhammer, and I really started getting into painting. It really started satisfying that kind of artistic thing I always wanted to do, like paint. I always liked painting. I liked art. And so that was, I don't know, maybe 7-8 years. And then I stopped drinking alcohol like 4 years ago. So I'd say maybe like 4 years ago was maybe when I started being a little more serious about it. So this is the Ghost Tiny. This is one of them here. Let's see if we. So I'm just going to put some little highlights on the little I don't know, tassels. You know, elves always have little tassels or something going on. Actually, GW models in general always nowadays just have lots of extra little trinkets and things dangling off them. So we're just going to put all this is just this color with Coelia green shade on it. And then I'm just using the initial same color to highlight it. And not being too careful, just trying to pull out some highlights. And then plus, you know, sometimes when you use the wash, you get some real dark spots. So you can kind of use your highlight color to kind of clean that up. I think that's one thing that I really enjoy about painting models and selling painted models, especially. I have quite a few videos on, like, for people who might be interested in painting for money. And for me, it just feels like what I always wanted to do, as far as, you know, I always wanted to be an oil painter, a professional artist. So even though I'm not oil painting on canvases, being able to paint these models and, you know, sell them for 40, 50, 60 bucks, 75 bucks, whatever. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. Some people don't. So there's the Ghost Tiny with some nice little highlights. Guess my camera's deciding to do some autofocus. Yeah, the Necrons, lots of cool there's lots of cool, like, colored metallic paints nowadays too. So if you had, like, some kind of, you know, you could differentiate colors, like, oh, this unit of warriors is brass, or this unit's iron, you know, that kind of thing. All right, let's move the little eels out of the way for a second. I'm gonna see if I can't. I'm gonna have to move this actually too, because it's not in the shot. But I'm gonna see if I can't make some kind of toenail, fingernail highlight color. That might actually be light enough right there. This is a size 5 ghost brush. Yeah, I think that's fine. Might be a little too light, but I'm just gonna kind of tap it near the tips of the fingers. I'm not gonna paint the whole fingernail, but you know, kind of that edge of your fingernail is usually lighter. So we're just gonna kind of roughly demonstrate that. Actually, I should have just grabbed one of the Ghost Tiny brushes for this too, to demonstrate that as well. But I already had this brush in my hand, so can we see that? Yeah, I think we can. So yeah, this isn't necessarily painting the whole nail. That one got sloppy. But I am showing that I know that the nails exist. You know, it's like you're just showing the viewer, I guess, like, oh yeah, he addressed the nails. All right, so that's cool. That's good. I'll bring out the Ghost Tiny again. One of these Ghost Tinys. Let's get this kind of liner one. I like this one. It's real nice. Kind of a liner. It's not super long, but it's a little longer on the tiny scale. And I'll just mix it around in these kind of lighter blue colors. Just somewhat the same colors I was using on the axe. And let's just put a few little highlights. I already did it once on this part, but it seems like it could be a little more. You can use the side too to kind of edge highlight the raised areas. And then we'll rinse that and repeat it just a bit up here. Oh, it actually looks like I got a bit of the skin tone on the blue. So we'll try to just tap. I don't know if you could have seen that exactly, but what I did was I just tapped my highlight blue right over top of where I accidentally got the skin on the blue. And that was partially to highlight, but also to correct my mistake. There we go. Just kind of tapping it on. Then we'll maybe put a little bit of a swoop down this side. Cool. Yeah, just a subtle. You could use these tiny brushes with metallics, but sometimes metallics are a little harder on your paintbrush, so I'm going to bring out the jet exhaust, and I'm just going to hit this little part on the X. This is like my favorite of the Vallejo metal color. If you like a good dark silver as kind of like a base coat, it's kind of my go-to. It's basically all the silver on him is that color. Oh, let me catch up on the chat real quick before I do this. Oh, MH777. What's going on, man? Welcome. Also, if you guys are enjoying this, or even if you're not, go ahead and hit the like button because that helps out. Thumbs up. That helped me. Subscribe. Yeah, that's one thing that kind of kills me with the Space Marines. I have quite a bit of painted Space Marines, and like you just feel like you're painting the same thing over and over again. So I feel like that would probably be the case with Necrons, where, you know, when you're in the mood, attack it and really get some models painted, because there might be some days where you're just not, you know, even months maybe that you just are not in the mood to paint any more Necrons. Oh, I think my hand's going to be too shaky for this. I can already feel it. You know, sometimes you just don't have the... We're going to try and make it work, though. If I get any silver on the blue, what I'll do is I'll just maybe use like a light blue to try to cover it up as like a highlight. But we're going to try to avoid that. It's easy on that part, but it's this part. Putting your finger on the... See how I have my finger on the axe up there? That helps brace it. I got my pinky on there too now. Oh, you can see those there. I'm going to try to brace. He's on the table. Both of my hands are on my... And I'm holding my breath. There we go. I think we got it. All right, I'm not going to risk it. I'm just going to let it go. Any part if I missed... Oh, I might have got a little too much over here. All right. All right, so yeah, we're going to paint these little brackets real quick. I'll have a good one, Mark. Yeah, it's funny. Orcs is one of those armies that has probably the most like diehard fans. Like when people like orcs, they really like orcs. If you ever get to go to like a gaming convention, if those ever happen again, the orc players just are always screaming out "wog" and just being orky. Everybody else is like normal, just playing their game, and the orc player is always having like a way better time. I feel like Skaven was kind of that way back in Warhammer Fantasy, because Skaven had like all these random war machine contraptions. You had to really kind of embrace the randomness of the army. Trying to get these sides, but I'm not being overly careful, or I'm being overly careful, and I'm not being overly concerned if I don't get them all the way down to the base. That's fine. People don't look at the models that close anyway, except for us while we paint them. Okay, I think we got that. I'm going to rinse this brush just because the paint's been sitting in there for a minute. And then we got to repeat that on this backside. And what always happens is you do pretty good on the first half. So then you use that confidence to rush the second half and make a mistake. So we're going to try to avoid that. I think what I'm going to do is just try to get all these edges right now. Ooh, that one was close. Might have got a little sloppy there. Yeah, so basically I got to paint this deer, which I have no idea how I'm going to do that. I mean, I don't want to look up a real elk or deer, because I honestly don't want to put that much effort into it. Okay, I think we kind of got our edges. So now we can kind of just paint it in. Okay. I think that's good. We'll rinse that off. I actually got an idea for the deer. So let's just put our metallic paint aside. We'll bring back the paint pot holder. We'll bring out the Agrax Earthshade. Inquisitor Zane, what's going on? Right now, this is for the Sons of Bahamut AOS, but I haven't played AOS in a while. I have, for 40K, I have Admech, and I have Eldar that I'm working on, but I'm not playing any 40K right now until either of those armies get a new book. So I'm waiting for a 9th edition codex. Yeah, Zane, I 100% turned the stream on just because I was like, oh shoot, I told him I'd be on tonight. But yeah, no problem. Enjoy your movie. Last night I watched Richie Rich with Macaulay Culkin. It was pretty much how I remember it from my childhood. I'm just going to bring out this big random soft brush. I think I got it on Amazon or something. I like this when I want to really coat a big swath of wash. And I'm just going to wash the deer in Agrax Earthshade. And then decide from there if anything looks good about that. I think if I darken him up, I could kind of stipple with the dry brushes and kind of make him look decent. So we'll just try to darken him up. I could have used maybe one of the brown contrast paints for this, which actually might have been smarter. Yeah, I was talking, I can't remember exactly who I was talking to about it, but I was thinking about putting on that animated Spawn TV show from on HBO. I got it on my watch list on the HBO Max. So if anybody's seen that, let me know if it's any good. So I've been debating on if I should start it. Okay, yeah, this, I mean, it's exactly what I was expecting. A kind of bad wash pooling up on a deer. But we're just going to set that guy aside and let that dry for, probably won't see that deer the rest of the night. Guess it depends on how long it takes to dry. Rinse off my brush. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the painting's coming out pretty good. Just kind of bouncing back and forth on some different projects here. I'm going to wash the browns on the eels now. Let me catch up on the chat. Oh, brown with a white tail. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, so I think I'll just try to work these browns on it and then just maybe do like a gray-white stippling on the tail. That's a good idea. Yeah, I actually, the Eldar is, yeah, that's part of it, is like, they were my first army. So what I ended up doing when I decided to do them again is I bought a bunch of people's armies off of them. So I have like, 50 of everything. And my plan was like, just pull out a unit of each type and then sell all the rest. But yeah, they're all resin and kind of sucks. And I'm losing motivation. I got like 40 Guardians I've been batch painting and it's just taking forever. Yeah, there's a Spawn animated series on HBO. I don't know when it came out, but I don't think it's like that new. Jack Singleton, the Earthshade holder is from my Kickstarter. It's actually live right now. I'll show you. Let me. So I have the Ghost Tiny Kickstarter going right now, and it's a resin pile of skulls here that holds the GW washes and contrast paints. And I painted it up. So this is my paint job on it. But yeah, it does look really sweet. It looks just cool on the table and on the stream. It does hold P3, but not as secure as like the GW. So if you're a P3 guy, you could use it, but it's more designed for the GW. All right, we'll put the Agrax Earthshade back in, and we'll just kind of wash. Kind of a sloppy wash on all the brown. These eels have been half painted on my desk for months. I kind of airbrushed the kind of pink shrimp skin on them. And I finally have just decided, like, you know what? Just put a little bit of paint on them every time you paint. So if you're painting, make sure you put a little bit of paint on the eels, and they're getting done. There's just a little bit left on the eel. And then, honestly, I haven't even built the riders yet, but they'll be built probably this week because these guys are... I'm going to get the eel done and the base done. I'm going to actually, because I wasn't super clean on painting the leather straps, I'm going to purposely put my wash on. So I don't know if you can see that as good, but the wash is getting on the pink on both sides. So it's creating somewhat of like a dirty shadow halo kind of around the leather strap. That's intentional. One, because I don't have to be careful, but two, because it's going to help hide any little blemishes where that brown got on the pink. So, and we're just going to basically disguise that as shadow around the leather, which is just a quick, easy way to kind of try and hide some mistakes. Yeah, if you get a if you get a chance, go check out the Kickstarter. It's live now. The skeleton or the little paint holder thing is actually an add-on, but I could probably sell you just one without getting the brushes if you didn't want them. But you'd have to honestly ask me in like 30 days or something because I'm going to forget. Or I might get, I don't know. I was thinking they seem really popular. I might actually get the STL file and maybe bring them to a factory where I can get them made in plastic. Maybe I could sell them to retailers and stuff. That's kind of up to the guy that I work with who designs them, though, because he gives me a really fair price on all of it. So I honestly, if he wants to keep the design for himself, then I think that's fine too. Yeah, these I just always, in all the Facebook groups, it's so funny, but people always take a picture when they knock over their paint. I've never actually knocked one over, I don't think. I might have. I might have knocked one over. I think I did at the other when I was still back at my parents' house when I lost everything and moved back from Vegas. And I had my little like roll top desk. But this one here, Sigor Brown, it spilled everywhere, but it wasn't knocking it over. I actually was holding it too tight in my fingers, and like where you pinch something and it shoots out. It did that on me, so that was just me being dumb. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'll have to see how much it actually costs to get, to bring like an STL file to a factory and see what that would actually end up costing. One downside, though, is if you made 10,000 of them, because the factory's going to make, if they're going to have to set up new molds or whatever, if they're doing them in plastic, they're probably going to make you buy a ton of them. And then if something like, GW changed their pot size or whatever, then you're just out of luck with like a ton of product that is really useless at that point. So I don't know, it might be a little risky to try. But I'll look into it, I think, because I really like the way they look, and a lot of people have really been pretty excited about them, as well as myself on Kickstarter. And all right, we're just going to continue to blob on my Agrax Earthshade to hopefully make all the blemishes go away. In turn, a little bit too much there. I mean, these are the bottom of the eels too, so you won't be able to see them really. But when they're on their base, so it's just kind of loose, with the rider on there, plus it on its base. I don't think it's going to be. I'm going to rinse my brush. I feel like it's maybe had the paint sitting in there a little too long. Oh, yeah, it's probably the old Spawn cartoon. Yeah, I don't think it's new either, but I think it's newer than the movie. But, that movie came out a long time ago. Actually, if you ever, I don't know if you like, motivational people or whatever on like YouTube, but, like podcasts or whatever. But if you ever look up like Todd McFarlane interviews, he's usually pretty darn inspiring as far as like achieving your goals or whatever. He's got a pretty good outlook on all of it. Obviously, he's built like hundreds of $1 million empire net worth off of Image Comics. So he knows a thing or two. I actually just watched Black Panther on Wednesday. So thank you, everybody, for not talking about that movie and spoiling it for me. I finally saw it. You guys can all you guys can all talk about Black Panther now. I saw it. Don't worry. You won't spoil it for me. I already saw it. And it was pretty cool. On Wednesday nights, we go over to my buddy's apartment and do like a paint night, which is something we used to do at the game store back when that was more accessible to do. So we've been doing it just at a buddy's apartment, and I've been catching up on my Star Wars and Marvel movies and whatnot, Godzilla movies I haven't seen. So getting my pop culture caught up. All right, we're going to let that dry. I think I need to let the deer dry for a little bit. Let's bring out, let's go snakebite leather. Oh, that's true. I could get a 3D printer and just get the file from, I think my lease is up in like July or August. So I am going to move. I'm in like kind of a crappy apartment, but a pretty nice location, I guess. You know, it's close to the post office and close to the game store. So it's nice for me as far as location wise. But yeah, I think I'm going to look for something a little better. Either better around the same price or cheaper if possible, because I like saving money. He dropped the X-ray flame. Yeah, these GW paints, man, they're not messing around with their price anymore. They're like $8 or something. All right, snakebite leather, old metal, master engineer, size 6, beat up old ghost brush that I've used a ton of times. And I think we'll just hit the gun with it. The wood of the gun. This model is going to be my Vindicare Assassin. I went too far. This guy was going to be, actually, or he'll be a Cador with a long rifle in Necromunda also. But yeah, he was going to be my Vindicare Assassin if I made my Sisters of Battle army. But I don't think I have any plans to make a new army anytime soon like I was thinking about. I just don't think I need another army. GW is not going to get me for another $2,000 just yet. You know, I'll buy some of the specialty games. I'll maybe buy a little thing here and there. But starting an army is a pretty big investment. So I'm holding off. I've been trying to sell a lot of my old stuff, a lot of my Thousand Suns and things on eBay. So once a lot of that is finally out of here and I've downsized appropriately, then maybe I'll, you know, start a new army or expand an army. All right, that looks cool. Brown gun. Oh, you know what? I still got metallic paint on that bottle cap. And since this is like my go-to silver paint that I base coat everything with, let's just start base coating some of these metallics. Not being careful because this is such an early step in the model here. I literally basically just primed them yellow. I'm sure some of that brown is mixing with some of this silver, but whatever, it's fine. Yeah. Oh, so back on that, if I get a new place and if I go up in size, then yeah, I might make a whole dedicated hobby room. Right now, basically, my living room is my shipping center and my paint center. So I have, you know, I don't have a TV or anything out here. It's just all for either hobby or work, which is fine. I like it like that. But yeah, if I was going to get a 3D printer or something, I think I would want, you know, to have it maybe in its own little separate like hobby room or in the closet of the hobby room, maybe something like that. I don't know anything about 3D printers. I just know people have them and everybody likes them. But man, it does seem like with all those Kickstarters where you can get, all these files to 3D print every month. I think the Kickstarter's called like Cast and Play. It does look fun to print all those monsters and characters and stuff and then paint them up, sell them. All right. Looks like we got the little engineer guy kind of base coated roughly. Is he wearing glasses? What does he got? I think he does have glasses, but we'll do that later. Cool. So here's the master engineer / Vindicare assassin. Actually, yeah, I had the Thousand Suns. I think I have Ahriman up there without the disc. I think the Terminator auction for the Scarab Occult Terminators just ended. Any of the Kickstarter pledges you can add. If you look at the bottom, the add-ons, you can add the little skull holder, Necro Paint Pot holder for $12. Or the complete range also has one. So any pledge, even if you want to just do. But if you do like one of the classic pledges and add it on, then it can't ship out right away because it's gonna take a while for these to get made. But you could do that as well. All right, so I think we're gonna bring him off to the side. He's just was sitting there, needed some paint on him, so he's kind of like these eels, like just throw a little paint on them, move on with my life. And speaking of those eels, let's take Jack Bone. And I'll put some right there. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, I think that would be, honestly, if you're looking to supplement your hobby with like some income from painting, I think if you had a 3D printer and you painted up all that cool terrain to sell, people will pay money, nice, good money for terrain for their D&D campaigns and gaming tables at home. So yeah, 3D printing or 3D print a nice piece of terrain and then make a mold of it and then cast that mold in like resin or plaster Paris or whatever's cheaper, plaster, and then just crank out with like an airbrush and some dry brush, some cool like medieval huts and castle walls and stuff. Yeah, I think that would be a way to go for 3D printing terrain. If you're looking at it purely from like, make some extra cash, to put towards the hobby or whatever, I think that's not a bad way to go. All right, we just got the size 6 here. Jack Bone mixed with whatever the heck color was next to it. And I'm just going to paint the teeth. Nothing special, just trying to get a base coat on there. I should have done this actually earlier. Because then when I was doing all that Agrax wash, I could have just went ahead and washed the teeth. There we go. Nothing crazy. I'll just probably mostly just hit those teeth with like a wash and then maybe a little highlight. These little teeth are like something that are obviously big enough that you can't just ignore. You probably want to use a little bit more than just a base coat. But, a base coat and a wash might be enough. But I'll probably end up with a base coat, a wash, and a highlight. That's the curse of when you like selling painted models. It's hard to not think, I need to paint this good enough that I can sell it. Which makes it so sometimes it takes forever to get like your normal stuff done. Because in my mind, even if I'm painting for my own army, I don't want just tabletop standard. I want to be able to sell it, because that way in the future, if I don't want the army anymore, I can get a decent price for selling the models. And then it kind of makes it worth it, almost like an investment. Since I am investing my time. Downside, of course, I'm investing extra time that maybe otherwise I wouldn't necessarily need to do. Let's bring back the little Empire guy. I'm going to paint his like little socks, this bone color, just as the base. See how that looks. His little pantaloon socks. Or tights, maybe they are. Yeah, nights like this where you're not, I'm not. The funnest way to paint, I think, is you grab one model and you just go for it. You just sit there and you work on them and back and forth and highlights and washes. And while the washes are drying, you're working on the base and, just messing around on one model. I think that's the most fun way to paint. The worst way is what I'm doing with my Eldar Guardians, where I have 40 of them in a big batch paint thing going. Whereas then you paint for an hour and you feel like you've done nothing and everything feels tedious. At least for me. But this way I've been doing the last couple nights here of just like basically putting that little bit of paint on a few models here and there. And that's kind of been the strategy. It hasn't been too bad. I think this little Empire guy would be a fun model to just work on all by himself. But you know what? We can get some of this stuff base coated, washed, and then maybe just bring up all the highlights and do it that way. So yeah, all I'm doing here is just kind of using the same color on the pants, the strap, and the book, just so it's kind of unified. Sometimes these old metal models, it's pretty hard to tell what you're actually even looking at. I mean, is that hair? Is that a strap? I don't know. Mine looks kind of cool. So, all right, we'll put him aside. He's going back. Yeah, they actually, it's been a while since I even put any paint on them. So they're probably even collecting dust. But yeah, here's the box of 40 Guardians in the heavy weapon platforms. And the last step I was doing was just putting Doombolt Brown on the bases. And I gave up before I even got through all the bases. So they're kind of sitting off here. That's the pile of Eldar Guardians. That's why I'm kind of working on things right now to clear the paint desk. And I also got 3 of these War Walkers for the Eldar, kind of airbrushed and ready. Now I just got to kind of pick out details and base them. Once those are done, I'll have 3 War Walkers, 40 Guardians, 10 Swooping Hawks, 10 Dire Avengers. So after that, I think I need to do maybe like a Falcon or a Fire Prism or something. Oh, and probably like a Farseer. Yeah, I think that's a good strategy, though. You do hobby stuff strategically to save some money, but also, try to flip a little bit to make money towards your hobby. My favorite Eldar unit is the Swooping Hawk. I would love to see, even though I'm going to hate the price tag, I would love to see new plastic Swooping Hawks that would look dynamic. I'd like for them to rework the stupid idea that they're carrying las guns, because that's what they used to carry in 2nd edition was las guns. And then for them, GW couldn't think of anything to do, so they just made them like 3-shot las guns, basically. And they've just kept it that way. So they don't have, for some reason, they don't really have their own unique weapon, but I think they look so cool. Then I think a new plastic unit of Swooping Hawks would be beautiful. Yeah, I don't really think about hourly on painting, but I mean, I guess something to consider. If I want to paint something fast, like a gelatinous cube or an owl bear or something like that, you can paint up real quick. Some kind of spider or snake or, like a WizKids monster. Then you can get a pretty good, dollar per hour. All right, let's bring back, that looks like it's boring. You guys can't see any of the models. Let's bring back the deer. All right, I'm going to close this for a second. I'm going to bring out the Taco Bell napkin. I think it's Taco Bell. And Rucksack Tan. I'll put it in here, but like I said, it's not really designed for the P3. And let's get the size 1 Ghost Dry Brush. Yeah, I think they gave him like 3 or 4 shots, but I think they should just have something more unique, like, a 6 to hit does a mortal wound or something. I don't know. Make their bombs more, give them grenade launcher. I mean, they always have some kind of effect where they drop bombs. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, depends on the edition. But yeah, like, I don't know. Same with like warp spiders. They just have like a 2 strength 6 shots where they used to all shoot monofilament heavy flamer templates. So I don't know. It just doesn't feel like they're doing anything special when they don't have like a unique gun. So I'm just kind of wiping off the Rucksack Tan and seeing what's going to happen. Kind of a dry brush. Dry brush seems a little too transparent to be doing much. So I think I'm going to reload it. Get more paint on my brush. I think I'm going to go ahead and stipple at it. So I'm just, yeah, that's better. So just stabbing it basically. the texture of the brush marks hopefully sell the idea that, there's some fur on this monster, or not monster, this elk or whatever. Plus the kind of non-uniform finish of the wash stage. And now with the stippling, we should get something that resembles some kind of like fur or something. Yeah. That's okay. You know what? I'm going to take it. I think that's good enough. These dry brushes, I mean, they hold a ton of paint. They're really good for dry brushing, but they hold a ton of water too. So when you wash them, you really got to take the time and give them a few rinses, give them a few scrubs on a napkin or a paper towel or an old t-shirt, because they really absorb a lot of paint and water into them. All right, now we will get rid of that. Let's go Rackheart flesh. You know what I should have kept? I should have kept my paper towel. Let me get that back. Now it's a little damp, but that's okay. I'm just going to use literally like one of my absolute oldest beat up brushes. Paint, wipe it off. This is probably going to be too transparent. I can already tell. Oh, maybe not. And we'll just stab it near the butt, because I think they were saying earlier, they have white tails. So there we go. If you feel like you get too much, you just dab your finger at it. Cool. And silver gray. I'm going to put a drop right into where that Rackheart flesh was and kind of just mix them here on this napkin. So it's not, actually I might mix a little more. So it's just not pure silver gray color. And we'll just kind of put a little bit of a stipple into the tail. And I'll use my finger to kind of blur it out a little bit, because I don't want it too like white spot. I want it kind of blended in a little. I don't know. I think he's all right. He's fine. Maybe we'll put a little bit of this on the ears. Yeah, he's got kind of like, now he's got like white ears too. Or ear, he's only got one. Oh, and he's got kind of a little bit of sculpted hair here on his chest. There we go. A little bit of interest in the deer or elk. Let's get that Cygor brown. This is like, I think it's the darkest of the brown contrast. Cygor brown goes in there. Beat up size 6. And we'll get his horn, antler. The kitchen sink of bad abilities on the wings and Manda Blaster. Yeah, the Eldar used to have. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Eldar were actually still really, really good in 8th edition, but a lot of it was just vehicle spam or flyer spam. There was almost never any aspect warriors in anybody's army ever, unless you count Shining Spears. But none of the foot aspect warriors, warp spiders, striking scorpions, howling banshees. The things that I think a lot of people like when they like Eldar. So yeah, it's like they just took away all the unique things that made those abilities strong, and then they just became like, oh, here's your toughness 3 expensive elite infantry. And a mediocre ability. Like you're just paying way too much points for toughness 3, 1 wound, and then their little ability wasn't strong enough. I think a lot of Eldar players would have gladly seen all the airplanes and stuff get nerfed just so the aspect warriors would get buffed. Unless, of course, you were like a tournament player and then you're winning with all those Eldar planes. Let's... No, I don't want to use that right now. What do we got next? Agrax Earthshade, back on the deer. Gonna use my little tiny makeup brush. I don't know how this brush came into existence, but it got a little sharp point on it. And I'm just gonna fill in the ear, the eye, the nose, just to bring some contrast to those details. Maybe down here on the hooves that I totally kind of missed. Maybe a little bit more too on the inner part of the deer. Just try to make that darker, like it's in shadow. And maybe here on the neck, right in there. Maybe under the jaw. Backside a little bit here. There we go. Just slapping on some Agrax Earthshade. Can't go wrong with a little bit of Agrax Earthshade. It's almost always fine to just put a little Agrax Earthshade on it. Unless it's... Actually, I was going to say unless it's yellow, but even that's probably fine. Oh, you know what? Agrax Earthshade. I got it out. Let's go ahead and do those eel's teeth. Yeah, that's the crazy thing is like the normal intercessor, and I have Space Marines too, although I'm going to be selling all of them. The normal like intercessor sergeant and squad of intercessors with bolt rifles have a good gun, strength 4, AP 1, rapid fire, 36-inch range or whatever it is. The intercessor sergeant has 3, 4 attacks, something like that. Strength 4, toughness 4. I mean, not to mention the whole squad itself has... Actually, yeah, the squad itself, I think, has 3 attacks a guy. Then the sergeant, I think, has 4. He could have a power or a thunder hammer, power fist, power sword. And a unit of howling banshees who are the melee specialty or the unit of striking scorpions could not charge in and kill that unit. You might kill 1 model, maybe 2. And then your whole unit's going to be wiped out by just the volume of strength 4 attacks and then the sergeant, whatever he hits you with. And that's just sad. your melee unit can't do melee, then that's why nobody takes them. Now a unit of striking or shining spears, buffed up, they could probably take down a unit of Space Marines. Maybe, I don't know. Oh, you know what? He has little horns on his head. I bet some of these have. Yeah, darn it. Some of these eels have little horns on their head. Guess we'll maybe go back to. Yeah, and then you got I think Howling Banshees should get just straight up like reroll to wound. Because if you're going to give them only like strength 3, or I think power swords maybe now are +1 strength, but strength 4. I think if you gave them just straight re-roll to wound and like 3-4 attacks a model, no re-roll ones, just flat out re-roll to wound, I think they could see some play. They charge like 3d6, or they can run and charge, or whatever they can do. Plus, you can't overwatch them, which isn't as big of a deal now in 9th edition, but I'm going to bring out the Ghost Tiny here. One of them here. And just because it's about perfect size to one coat hit these horns on top of their head, which I should have. I'm doing just the same color as I did on the teeth. Here's a fun, I don't know, fun's not the right word. A good lazy tip. If you use the same color on your monster's horns and teeth, and then wash them the same color, then when you highlight them both the same color, but then highlight the teeth just one more step up. So that leaves the horns darker and the teeth whiter, or they get one more highlight step, so they get lighter. And that's one way to separate your horns and teeth. Oh, just those. This guy doesn't have any. So you can kind of separate your horns and teeth. Or another way is base coat them all the same color and then wash them with different colors. Maybe the teeth get Agrax Earthshade, maybe the horns get Reichland Fleshshade, and that'll be enough to differentiate them. So they're uniform. They still have the color harmony of being the same base color. So your eye will still catch that as like a color harmony. But that slight variation will give you enough difference too that they look interesting. So we'll keep the little Ghost Tiny brush here. I'm going to add coal black. If it's open, I don't know. I don't remember. Nah, it's not even open yet. I'll just get a different black. I'm just using Vallejo black. So it's in that corner over there. You see it? That's just where I put the black on my palette, is up in the top left corner. Blacks and whites and grays all go up in that area. And I'm just going to paint this deer's eye black. There we go. After it's matte coated, maybe I'll put a highlight on it. Cool. There's some blue I got on this wood that I could clean up, I guess. So maybe we'll do that. Let me see. This wood here is actually a contrast paint. So I don't know if another layer of contrast paint is going to cover it, but I think we'll try. I'll try it with a Sigor brown. I like this. It's not the color I used, but I think we can make this work. Maybe. I'll just put a little bit on my brush and see if I can't. Oh, that's significantly darker. Use my finger to dab it a little bit. It's not bad. It covered it in. So what we're going to do is now just use the Sigor brown to basically pretend like, well, we're going to kind of force some kind of texture shadow near where like things are touching the wood, like his hands, his fingers, to somewhat blend away the, one instance of Sigor brown to block out the blue. If that made any sense. Basically adding the Sigor brown in lots of places so it looks like it belongs instead of just in the one place that it actually was covering up the overspilled paint. Well, there's a few places for that, but the one major spot I had to clean. So there we go. That's good. Just add a little bit of extra darker browns into the browns. Cool. If this is still wet, I don't know, but there is some blue on the metal. Nope. It's sad that one drop is too much, but I'm going to clean up the metal here, especially where the blue. Oh, I'm off camera. I should close this before I knock it over. Yeah, we'll just clean up the metal where we got some of the blue on it. Or any other overspill colors. Mostly blue. There we go. Yeah, the one drop of silver was way too much. I don't need that much. So I'm just going to try to find a few areas just so I don't totally waste it that maybe I could clean up a little bit. Yeah, I'm fine. Whatever. I'm about done with the old giant. But I did notice we're going to bring out the Sigor brown again and just clean up the tip of the wood here and get rid of all the blue on it. There we go. Yeah, the Howling Banshees are really good at running across the board in one turn and doing 3 wounds to a unit. Now, in 8th edition, you could do a little bit of gaming with it because you could use them to charge like a Leman Russ, especially like a Punisher Leman Russ or something, and then it can't overwatch you, and the tank's not going to kill you in combat, and then it can't shoot you, so you prevent it from shooting. But now, I mean, you can still do it, but the tank's going to still be able to shoot. Let's go Reichland Gloss. All right, Reichland Flesh Shade Gloss. I'll just use the size 6 real quick, and I'm just going to paint the inside of some of these metals to just add some kind of warm tones to them. This guy's basically a warm and cool tone kind of study or whatever. He's got a lot of warm colors, browns, yellows, oranges, and a lot of cool colors, a lot of blues. We're not being too careful with this. We're just putting it on some of these metals that we want to make them a little more interesting. If they're not interesting, we'll just put a little Reichland gloss on it, and then it's somewhat interesting. Interesting enough. And let's find where to hold him here so I can get the legs. This isn't so much about should there be Reichland gloss there as it's just too much silver, so let's break it up a little bit. So that's good. All right, rinse that off. Oh, I haven't shown the base on this stream. Here's the Giant's base. So that'll have frost effects and stuff on it and snow once it's got him glued to it. And he actually has pegs on his feet, so that's cool. So he'll just glue right in there. And honestly, I mean, he might be done. Oop, I definitely wiped some Agrax gloss or Reichland gloss off of something because I got it on my glove. Another model that's been almost finished for too long, but I need to finish is my White Bull, which I don't really love the way he's coming out at all, but whatever. I've come too far. I don't want to start over. So I think I'll just keep applying washes and stuff and highlighting them. But he's getting there. I'll start working on him soon. So yeah, I got him to finish, the Giant, the 3 eels plus the riders that I have not built yet. And then I got 2 Deepkin characters here that I need to finish. And then and then the Eldar Guardians and the Eldar Warwalkers. And during all that time, I'll probably play with this guy a little bit. And that kind of clears up all my work in progress models. And that's what I'm trying to get done, is I'm trying to get all those half-painted models that have been sitting on my desk for sometimes months, sometimes longer, multiple months. You know, you get them just sitting there for so long. And I'm trying to clear the work in progress out. And then I'm trying to clear a bunch of my kits and models that I'm not going to get around to make room. Because after the Kickstarter's done, you get, you know, it's go time, right? I spend all day taping boxes and checking paintbrushes and printing shipping labels. So during this kind of 30-day campaign, you know, I got to check all the comments and stuff and do my eBay shipping, but it's a little bit of a lull that I can get a lot of these maybe half-finished projects done. And then I think it'll be time to maybe reorganize my paint desk, clean it, reorganize it. I got all of those instant colors from Scale 75 that I haven't even tried out yet because I have just so many paint. You can see them all here. They're just spilling off of all the racks. I need to figure out a way to either downsize the paint collection or, you know, really take a look at which colors I just don't use, sell them maybe, or, Maybe do like a giveaway. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's about it. It's 1:30. I think I might go ahead and lay down and put on a movie or something here. Looks like I'm pretty happy with these eels as far as they're more or less ready for the riders. Oh, I got to pick out a little bit of highlighting on the darker red areas. And then I got to clean up a little bit of spotting that I got some brown or some paint rubbed off on the eel skin, but haven't decided how I'm going to do that. I think I'll actually do that maybe with dark maroon spots. So I'll clean up the mistakes by adding like a spotted pattern onto them, which is not a bad idea, I don't think. I think they look pretty cool, like here on camera with, yeah, I think they look pretty good. I'll probably end up selling them too, actually. I bought them for, oh, what up, Durasamine? Oh, these are eels for Deepkin. I actually bought them because I was using Deepkin in the Warcry campaign. So, I might just keep them for my Warcry warband, but if I have another box of them, I'm not sure if I have another box or not, or another sprue from like a start collecting or something. If I have another box of eels, I'm definitely just selling them on eBay because I don't think I'd want to paint 3 more of these. They're cool, but whatever. I don't need 6 eels for Warcry. Yeah, but that's those 2 Deepkin characters plus this guy. These are all Warcry models, and we haven't played Warcry in a couple months now. We've been doing a Blood Bowl League, and before that we were doing Deep Madness, and then before that we were playing Warcry. So it's been quite a few months, and I think that's what really made me stop working on them. Is we weren't, once we stopped playing, it was like, oh, I don't need to paint these anymore. But since they're half finished, I don't want to just set them down and never get them painted. So, but I think that's it for me. Oh, spears or shields? I don't know. Which one's most popular in Age of Sigmar? I'll probably build them whatever one is most popular in Age of Sigmar, because that way if I decide to sell them, they'll be more likely to sell if they're the ones people want in Age of Sigmar. If I keep them, I'd probably just go with whatever's coolest looking to me. But I think I have the sprues here, literally not even clipped, so I don't know. Actually, if you do the musician and is there a standard bearer, musician and standard bearer? They might not even. The only one guy might be spear or shield. Oh, okay. So either one is desirable. All right, yeah. So I'll just probably look at the art or whatever and just do whatever one I feel like painting the most for myself, because I'll probably hold on to them for a little bit. I don't think I'm going to sell them right away. But I don't know. I mean, I think the update to Warcry, the new like kind of battle tome books for the Grand Alliances, was a really big letdown, just kind of a slap in the face to Warcry fans, I think. They really needed to redo points and stuff. They added a lot of new cool models, but when we had been playing for months and months nonstop during COVID, because that was the only game I could play on a card table with a couple buddies, adding those couple new ally models does not change the game or the experience of the game. So they needed like a general's handbook style update with new points adjustments, real overhaul changes to the original Chaos warbands that make them somewhat even comparable to the stupid AOS warbands. Like the Deepkin warband is so much better, or the goblins or the Skaven or the Stormcast are all so much better than any of the Chaos warbands. It's crazy. Heathen Hammer, what's going on? Yeah, I'm just kind of winding down here. We were working on them, and I'll bring the giant back. He's not dry yet, but I was working on this giant. Steamforge Games Epic Encounter, $40, I think he is. Pretty sweet. Base I upgraded with the MDF base, but thank you. Yeah, he's basically done. That brings me to have 9 Gargants and 2 Megas for my Sons of Behemoth. So I have a fully painted AOS army plus 500 points. I think I have a fully painted 2,500 point army. Unless I need 3 Megas. I don't know. I have a third one, but he's not primed yet. They're all third party, like Reaper Bones, WizKids, those style models. But yeah, I don't know. I think I talk about this probably way too much, but the combination of COVID forcing me to take a break or a step away from the kind of GW hype train. I'm not at the game store 2-3 nights a week painting and gaming and talking gaming. All of a sudden during COVID, you take a long break last year, and I really got out of the hype train, and it really started making me rethink, like, why do I have so much stuff? So that's what's bringing a lot of this, selling off the Thousand Suns. I'm probably selling off all my Death Watch Space Marines, selling off my Tyranids, selling off basically all my AOS and all my 40K except my Eldar army, my Admech army, and my Slaanesh Demon army. And then I'm kind of waiting. Oh, and my Sons of Behemoth, because they're all third-party guys. But I'm waiting for the AOS 3. I'm waiting for the 3rd edition of AOS. And that'll be hopefully a time I jump back into the game and really enjoy it again. Because I didn't really think AOS has been in a good spot for a while. If anybody doesn't know, this thing here is the Necro paint pot holder that I designed with a guy. It's on Kickstarter right now as part of my paintbrush Kickstarter for the Ghost Tiny brushes. So that's what this thing here is. Sometimes people ask. Also, please hit the thumbs up if you haven't. I think that helps people find this. Although, I think part of the fun of these is, chit-chatting while we're painting. I don't know how many people actually want to, necessarily go back and rewatch what I'm doing, but if you're just painting at home, something like that could be fun to put on. Yeah, so Warcry, I think in Warcry, if you both play like a standard Chaos Warcry warband, like one of the actual Warcry warbands, they're pretty good games. They're pretty close. Although I do think basically every mission you should add one more turn. So if it's a 3-turn mission, you should probably play 4 turns. But if you play with like the AOS factions, they're in general, a lot of them are way stronger. Some of them are just absurdly strong compared to there's no balance whatsoever, which is unfortunate. And then they didn't address that in all those new books that they came out with in points or nothing, or ability changes, really, except for this guy. This guy was way too strong, and he actually got nerfed in the new book, which is good because he was ridiculous. But yeah, so if you guys are both playing with the crazy war bands, then that's fun too, right? If one guy's Skaven and one guy's Goblins or something like that, you'll have some great games. But what we found is we were doing 4-player games and 3-player games, and we just made like a D20 chart, and we would roll a D20, and say you got a 14, and 14 was most people on the high ground. Okay, that turn, that's how you score victory points. Most people on the high ground. Whoever has the most gets 5. Whoever has second most gets 3. That kind of thing. Then you roll for the next turn. Okay, most people in the center of the board, that style. And even though there was huge gaps in faction balance, when you had that many players just having a good time, it was really, really fun. It was really a fun time. So I think there's a really good advantage to Warcry and playing with like 3 or 4 people. You could probably even do 5, just as like a bunch of buddies having a good time. So I would highly recommend you try that out. Yeah, like for me, the KO in Warcry felt ridiculously overpowered. Like they're not paying extra for all their guns. They have 12 wound basic infantry, where some people have 8 wound infantry, which is a huge difference when, a model might only do 4 damage on a crit. So a 12 wound model needs 3 crits to kill in 1 hit. So it's almost impossible. Like, not impossible, but, it's very unlikely you kill one of their basic guys in 1 hit and then they all shoot you to death. I hated the KO in that. I thought they were unplayable, how, at least one-on-one. If it was a one-on-one game for me against the KO, it felt unplayable, like how bad the balance was. But in a group battle where that KO player has to divvy up his firepower amongst all of the enemies, it felt fine because everybody's fighting everybody. But one thing I will say is the allies do help. So like I was playing the Unmade mostly. I had goblins and I had Deepkin. I was running 3 different warbands because we were playing every weekend, all weekend long, every Saturday, all Saturday long. So I was playing multiple warbands, and the Unmade were much stronger once I had the Minotaur. Once you get the big Minotaur, I had the Slaughter Priest, and I had the Beastman Shaman. So I'll put these here just so anybody here at the end can see them. I had 3 allies who were all strong allies, plus the leader in the Unmade's really strong. So at that point, my warband was much stronger, and I was having a good time. But just, we were doing these group battles. So yeah, if you got friends, just make a chart, do like random objective type thing every turn. Whoever controls the most table quarters, whoever controls the center, whoever has the most guys on the 2nd story or 3rd story, whoever, we would even put out like, 2 wandering trolls, and whoever does the most wounds to the trolls that round, all these different things. And it just, made it really chaotic and fun. And there was no focusing beat down. Sometimes we'd put a big giant out on the board or something. It was good times. But yeah, all right, we're at 150, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and shut it down here. Hopefully you guys got some painting done. Hopefully you're subscribed. Hopefully you like the video, comment the videos, all the special things for the YouTube algorithm. And then, of course, really would appreciate it if you check out the Ghost Tiny Kickstarter, share it. If you have a gaming group or a hobby group, I'd love if you could share the Kickstarter. That'd be great. Sharing, it's like the hard, getting shares is obviously like the hardest thing ever for Kickstarters and whatnot. So yeah, if you have a group of people you want to share it with, or a store or anything, please do. It helps. And like I said, I'm going to try to do a lot of these little just kind of random paint stream chit chat things. Just to, people have questions about the Kickstarter, or people just want to hang out and paint. So just kind of winding down at the end of the night style, just getting stuff done. Probably won't learn a lot, but maybe it'll be mildly entertaining. So, and I try to slip in a few tips here and there if I think of them, but hopefully it was some value. All right. Thank you so much, guys. And I'll see you in the next one.